All right, welcome everyone. I'm Laurie Ledley, the founder and president of Valley Sleep Center. I have Andrew Neighbors, our respiratory therapist who specializes in troubleshooting your CPAP. Today we're talking about, is that silly CPAP mask coming off while you're sleeping? We're giving away a free mask at the end of the presentation. Thank you everybody for joining. Please feel free to chat your questions in the Q&A or the chat.
Thank you, Laurie. So hello, everybody. I'm Andrew Neighbors. I'm as Laurie said, I'm a respiratory therapist and clinical sleep educator for Valley Sleep Center. My general gig is I work specifically with the world of the CPAP. I like the hands-on approach of that variable, that element, and trying to at least weasel out the reasons why a person isn't successful and how to kind of spark them into getting that direction. And the CPAP mask coming off while sleeping, it might as well be the biggest pandemic in the CPAP world of why somebody is frustrated or unsuccessful with how to use this. Besides the fact that it's CPAP, and ultimately, CPAP's not the most fun thing to do in the world, but heck, if you're pulling your mask off while you're sleeping and you're waking up with it on the pillow, across the room, on your forehead, it can be a frustrating battle. So how to keep your mask on while you're sleeping. You got this wonderful guy here. Now, this style of mask right here, this Dreamwear full face, is a very innovative design, a big trend in how some of the mask designs are going with the hose attachment on top of your head. Specifically for how he's sleeping, like in his stomach, people like to sleep the way they want to sleep. And the harder it is for you to be able to do that, the more difficult it's going to be for you to manage treatment. Sure, you have to make some adjustments. The whole concept of sleeping with a mask on your face isn't natural. And it's just like, there's no way around having to make some tweaks, but having mask styles or fits that can benefit you to at least try to get you to a point to where you can feel like you're sleeping normal moves you and progresses you along the line. When it all starts, you have the whole mental process of bringing yourself to wanting to use treatment. And it's super common for somebody when they first start using this to have their mask ripped off. Why or how? There's a lot of reasons for it. But obviously it defeats the whole purpose of trying to use a CPAP if you wake up and your mask's gone. And that's kind of where things can get a little weird. And that's where somebody like myself or somebody who's going to be able to guide and direct you to different resources or masks or processes is going to be beneficial. No one really wants to wear a mask when they sleep. It's like we have to wear a mask for the whole pandemic and the coronavirus thing. It's like even these face masks, like, would you want to wear that while sleeping? No, you wouldn't. You would prefer not to have to do that while sleeping. Strapping yourself in and being tethered to a machine 6 feet away is not the most appealing process. But in the same realm, you have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a laundry list of health issues, from something as simple as high blood pressure to congestive heart failure to sleep, the general sleep issues of being up and down all night, and if you don't meet your compliance, your insurance may pull the plug on you. More often than not, insurances these days have a minimum usage requirement in order to continue to pay for this process. If you do not qualify or you do not meet their standards, you very well may be shelling on money out of pocket without treatment or having to restart a process, which can be just a pain in its own right. You look at, I put this mask on there because I thought it was hilarious. This is a real CPAP mask. It was made by Philips Respironics. I had one patient 5-6 years ago get this mask. It wasn't the mask I recommended him get. This is the mask the company he was going for gave to him. And he brought it in because he was having mask issues, as you could see why. I don't even know on what planet somebody thought that this was a great mask, but it does exist. When you use a CPAP, there can be a period of adjustment. And, in my opinion, From what I've seen, about 50% of the patients who use a CPAP rip it off, toss it, take the mask, it's gone. When they do it, why they do it, how they do it is all subjective, but they do it, and here's a few different tips to kind of get you along the pattern of stopping doing that, or maybe understanding why you might be doing it. Okay. First and foremost, getting a well-fitted mask. The patient I just saw, she got a mask. She had used the system for the equivalency of about 14 minutes. Not a whole lot of use. Mask was leaking, a lot of issues. She couldn't even get to sleep with it. She was like, I can't fit this, I can't get it in place, can't get it in place. So I discussed with her, I said, okay, did the DME you were working with, did they fit your mask? No, they didn't fit my mask. A lot of times I'm finding with the COVID world, people are not getting the masks fitted. They're getting a mask that says, and this is what she said, he recommended this mask because he sleeps with it, which is a very poor assessment of another person, is because I like it, you will too. Not the case. There's a lot of masks that I don't prefer. I don't like. They don't work for me for whatever reason. I'm not a fan, but it does not mean it won't work for you. And it's the understanding concept that we don't wear the same shoes, we don't drive the same car. So finding a well-fitted mask that fits your face properly, size your nose correctly, size your nostrils, size, whether it's a full face mask or not. Those are big, big, big issues. Because if it doesn't fit, you're going to rip it off, consciously or subconsciously, just because of leaks or just being uncomfortable. Use the concept of a full face mask. Now, the full face masks are generally designed a lot of times for people who tend to be a mouth breather. Again, mouth breathing is a common side effect of sleep apnea, as in untreated sleep apnea. Okay. So most of the people who come our direction have had sleep apnea for quite a long time. So the general idea of using a full face mask isn't out of the cards. It can be the easiest style to try to adapt to. Downside is they're a little bigger. They do need to be snugged up, but more or less, you don't have to think about treating it. You don't have to think about how to breathe with this mask. You can still get the same level of treatment and be able to, breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth. The pressure of the CPAP. Okay, these machines, like if you're on a CPAP machine, you may need more pressure. You may not have enough pressure. If you're on an APAP machine where it's a variable pressure system, the air pressure could have pressure spikes and it shoots up air pressure on you and then it blows out your mask and it starts leaking, or your mouth comes open, the air is brushing out of your mouth. This is an annoyance factor, and the annoyance factor can cause you to yank, rip that mask off, okay? If you don't have enough air pressure. And this is also another issue with the world of auto-PAPs. When it comes to the way a lot of times we're regulated to do sleep studies, we're doing home sleep studies on patients. It's a basic yes or no test that says, yes, you have sleep apnea, no, you don't. It doesn't give us a clear-cut blueprint on how to treat it. Insurance has told us what to do to how to treat it, which is a whole crock. It's not the best direction. So when a person gets on an auto-PAP machine, we give them a pressure range from low to high. Now, the reason we do it is because we really have no idea where you're going to need or what pressure you're going to need until you really start using it. And it's not uncommon for a person when they come do their first follow-up, say with me, that I'm asking them, do you feel like you have enough air? Like when you first put the mask on, does it feel like you're breathing through a straw? Does it feel like you're getting enough coming through it? Because some people, if they don't have that flow coming in that they need, that mask is up and off of their face and they're taking these big heavy breaths and they just can't manage it. They cannot breathe well. So that's where adjusting some of the pressures and some of the settings to fine tune them, make them a little bit more unique to you instead of the generic setup that we were regulated to start with. Also, there's people who need to use a high air pressure or are really having a difficulty breathing against the air pressures. And that's where a BiPAP machine or a VPAP machine can come into play. They have exaggerated inhale, exhale pressures, and they can make tolerating treatment easier either at high pressure or just with the pressure in general. Adjusting the strap to your mask, right? Now, these machines have a mask fit feature, and they're in the options menu on your machine, so you can legitimately put your mask on, get it in place, get yourself strapped on. Now you're awake, you're cognizant, you're ready to go. You run the mask fit feature on your machine, and your system will shoot pressure up to a working air pressure. Okay. Your job is to adjust the strap so it gives you a good fit. Okay. Too loose mask, air is blowing out the sides. Too tight mask feels like you get head in a vice. Neither one of those are really necessarily a good way to try to sleep at night. I had a patient earlier today. The way the structure of his face was, it felt like it was just jamming into his sinus cavities. He uses a really high air pressure. Okay. So I restructured and designed, I went a different direction with masks, something that's not going to jam into his sinus cavities that he felt like this mask may work. Proper adjustments with the mask and how to make it work as best as possible for him. And we'll see how it's going to work. Practicing while awake. This is particularly a smart concept when somebody is either hesitant to treatment or having some significant difficulties falling asleep or just tolerating the whole concept of CPAP. Practicing while you're awake doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to start sleeping with it night one. In a perfect world, you're going to take your CPAP home. The first night you're going to get it, you're going to knock out 7 to 9 hours straight through. You're not going to have an issue, a problem. We don't live in that perfect world. We live in a world where people run into road barriers and roadblocks. So practicing while awake, just having your mask on, learning how to make your adjustments. For example, like if you're given a nasal style or a nasal pillow style, it's common for people to open their mouth while sleeping, which causes them to rip their mask off. Now, mouth breathing while sleeping can be an annoyance. It doesn't necessarily deter the treatment from working. The treatment can still do its job. Patients can still benefit from use. It's not a giant roadblock that says no, a nasal mask won't work. But if you're not used to the feeling and sensation of the air coming out of your mouth, you're going to rip the mask off while sleeping. Okay. The last thing that we would recommend is temporary use of sleeping pills. Meeting with your sleep doctor and such, there are certain medications and pills that they would recommend, trazodone, something along the lines, can help kind of get over that hump of actually trying to sleep with your machine. And then once you start getting, say, 4 or 5 hours to the system, you start feeling like it's working, you start noticing a benefit, you start realizing, hey, this is actually doing what we're expecting it to do. I'm feeling like I'm sleeping a little sounder, a little more clear-headed during the day. You start pushing, you don't start not needing these sleeping pills. And now you're sleeping a little bit more natural with your treatment. So if you wake up and you have ripped your mask off, it is in your best interest to try to put it back on right away. Of course, readjusting your mask and fiddling with your mask in the middle of the night can be a pain if you're really running into roadblocks. Scrap it for the night, retry again the next night. But definitely putting the mask on if you wake up and it's off of you is your best benefit. Trying a full face mask, a smaller size mask, a larger size mask, depending on the structure of your face, you may have been incorrectly sized. You may have been given a mask that's too big, too small, left, right, straight, whatever the case is. Obviously trying different masks. The manufacturers of these masks allow a mask exchange within the first month of receiving it. Take advantage of it, okay? Don't sit there and force yourself to try to use one style because just because you did your sleep study, just because the person, the vendor at the DME said, oh, this is the one I use, this is the best, this is this. The best is a subjective statement. The best isn't the best. This is a popular mask style, and then this is the best mask style. That's not necessarily, those aren't the same thing, okay? Popular masks tend to work for the majority of the people, but doesn't make it the best mask. Which style mask are you? So you got like nasal pillow masks. Nasal pillow masks work with people that maybe have a small, narrow bridge of the nose. They're claustrophobic, maybe anxious. They have a multiple different sizing to them. So a nasal pillow mask would be an easy style for a person to say, oh, mail that mask to me, because you can fiddle with different sizes and find the size for you to, to use. If you're having a difficulty tolerating it, there's, EPR settings that allow the pressure to reduce. That's where the BiPAP comes into play. The real direct airflow, so sometimes you can feel like you're getting more air than another style of mask. So it is a downfall plus mouth breathing. Nasal style masks. They're easier to exhale against pressure because it's larger surface area. They're definitely got more straps to them. So they would fit the same, the same protocol as a nasal pillow style where it is a nose only mask, but they can be honestly the easiest styles out of every mask to use, a nasal mask. They're smaller than a full, they don't have as many side effect issues as a pillow mask. That's just ultimately they can tend to be the most reliable fits. Full masks, a lot of times people go to it that need a higher air pressure. BiPAP users and stuff can go there. Again, persistent mouth breathers, people, that's just the way you breathe. You breathe through your mouth. So you have nasal congestion issues, blockages. They're tough for people that have like claustrophobia because they are bigger on your face. Now, if the claustrophobia is a breathing issue, you may find the full mask to be, again, more natural. Hybrid style masks, they're kind of like, they're nice in the aspect that they work both the full mask and the sizing issue. They aren't as bulky. They can sometimes be a little more difficult to try to fit because you're fitting a variable under the nose and around the mouth and stuff like that. Face structure plays a big role. If you have a small chin, recessed chin, you might run into issues. They are beneficial for people who do read and watch TV in bed, which we don't recommend, but you're going to do it anyways, so it's really hard to stop. All righty, so staying compliant, obviously, with treatment is the best direction a person can go. Trying to get at least 4 hours. Gold standard to me is 6+. I love 6+ hours out of patients all night long. From the second you go to bed, second you wake up is the ultimate goal, but any use is better than zero. If it sits in your closet or in your nightstand or under your nightstand or in the bag, you're not getting anywhere because it's not going to lead to a healthy immune system. Your respiratory system can falter. I did have a patient who did get tested. He got tested positive for COVID in March. He says to me, yes, this was yesterday. He says to me, he attributes his ability to beat COVID due to CPAP use. Because the opening, the splinting factor, what CPAP does to your lungs, he uses a high air pressure, and he felt like he had the ability to aerate his lungs well, keep his oxygen levels normalized, and he was able to, felt like it helped beat COVID for him. If you're struggling with issues, of course, if you want to try a different mask or style, you can always give us a call. You can always dial the phone number for Valley Sleep Therapy or Valley Sleep Center and schedule an appointment.